Everyone, I'm Rihanna. I'm project producer here at Katapult, and I'm joined by George, who is our wonderful production assistant, who's been at Catapult. How long have you been at Catapult now, George?
Nearly 2 years. It'll be 2
Nearly
years
2 years.
in January.
Wow, gosh, that's gone quick, hasn't it? Obviously, we've not done a kind of style of this kind of podcast before, so it's kind of a little bit of a deep dive into the project and also your role within it. We're talking about the tunnels today, which is a project we did in Gibraltar, which launched earlier this year. But in the interim, just so we can get to know you a little bit better, George, we've got a little theme park quickfire quiz, if you don't mind taking part, and we can
Okay.
see which way you kind of lean in. So if I was to say to you coaster or carousel, which one would you go for?
Coaster.
I'm not surprised on that one.
Yeah.
Hot dog or hot coffee?
Hot dog. I'm not much of a coffee drinker.
Oh, what's the drink of choice then?
Hot drink, I'd go for a hot chocolate.
Okay. Well, that's a nice mix, hot dog and hot chocolate. Visit alone or visit with family?
I'm gonna go visit with friends. Secret third option.
Okay, nice. That makes sense. Live show or character meet and greet?
Live show.
And would you be hiding from the rain or embracing the poncho?
I'd embrace the rain.
He's an
Go out there, get wet.
all year round theme park enthusiast, I think it's fair to say with you, George, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit.
Brilliant. Thanks for answering those. So just before we go into the tunnels a little bit more, do you think you could explain to us what your role is at Catapult, and tell us a little bit more about what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. So I'm production assistant. So my day to day varies quite a lot depending on what we've got going on. A lot of the time, I'm kind of assisting on different projects and helping support the producer in different tasks, whether that involves like dealing with shipping paperwork or assisting with research or asset collection, which we'll be talking about more later, I'm sure. That's kind of on the project side. And then I also help a little stuff on the company side. Helping set up different processes, databases, managing different vendor communications, emails, that sort of thing.
So it's quite a varied role then.
Yeah, yeah, I like it for that. I like having to come to work each day and having something different to do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I could totally agree with that. Obviously, we're on the same team, so I understand the same challenges of coming in and your day gets skewed by something brand new that you've got to pick up, but that's half
yeah.
the fun and half the challenge, isn't it? So
Just-
yeah, it's a good one. So going into the tunnels, so this was quite an exciting project for us. It's kind of a heritage-based attraction that used to be in existence, but we've kind of brought it to life a little bit more. And we worked with Right Tech Media to bring it forward, didn't we? So can you tell us a little bit about it? So what exactly is the tunnels? What do we do for it?
So for the tunnels, we kind of, like you said, sort of brought it back to life a little bit and looked into the different sides of the history in it. So we took, I think it was half a dozen rooms
Hmm.
within the tunnels, and we kind of designed the different interactives, displays, all of that sort of thing. Yeah, so looking at the different kind of key moments that Gibraltar played in the war and the things that were really important to Gibraltar at that period of time. So looking at the strategy of when the war was first started, and why Gibraltar was a key pivotal point in the world. Then looking at things like the evacuation process of Gibraltar and all of the issues that came along with that and how the people got through all of that. And then my personal favorite bit, the espionage side of things, because obviously Ian Fleming went out there and there was lots of kind of different spy things going on, and I found that all really super interesting.
And that's World War Two, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, World War Two. Are the tunnels, are they literally tunnels buried into the rock? Is that right? There's a rock called the Rock, isn't there, in Gibraltar, and the tunnels are part of that. Is that right?
Yeah, so the tunnels go all the way through the rock, hundreds of them. I remember looking through the map and looking at all of the different tunnels and all of the different names of them. They're expansive and like completely, it's very hard to kind of wrap your head around it. But I was lucky enough to visit this summer with my family. So I got to go see it in person, walk through the tunnels. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but I mean, they are tunnels and caves. The like work craftsmanship and all of the detail that went into digging out these tunnels, it was impressive, especially with the tools that they had at the time. These drills weren't very massive, and they were digging out these huge and expansive long tunnels that go up and down all the way inside the rock. It's really impressive.
So did you feel quite a bit of responsibility? Obviously, it's quite an iconic attraction over in Gibraltar. Did you feel, you know, a little bit of pressure to make sure the story was told correctly, especially from the point of view that obviously it's to do with war? It's quite an interesting kind of subject that people have lots of points of view and kind of commentary on. So taking that step back and being kind of that generic voice that kind of could just talk about the facts, was that quite tricky to kind of to do?
Yes, oh, certainly. I mean, yeah, it's obviously, like you say, a lot of responsibility. It was one of my first projects at Katapult, so I felt a lot of pressure on that side of things. Okay, this is an important one. I've got to get things right. Yeah, but so my part in the project, I was brought in a lot later on the project, so it was much more of kind of the final side, the final deliverables and the production of this. So a lot of it, me for when I was coming in, a lot of the kind of narrative storytelling, all of that was already complete. So
Hmm.
when I came in, it was a lot of focusing on making sure we had the right images and that the images were all of the correct source and that they were all of high enough quality and that we had the rights to use them, and making sure that they were all in the right place. But yeah, there was a lot of photos to go through for that period of time. But obviously, cameras and stuff, the pictures taken back then weren't designed to be full wall scale
Hmm.
photos. So there was a lot of kind of making sure that we had the right photo that told the right story that we wanted to tell from that point in time.
That in itself is quite a responsibility because it's got to be the right picture in the right time with the rights, making
Yes.
sure you're using the right thing, calling it the right name. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just simply picking a picture and slapping it on the wall, is it? There's a kind of a lot more thought that goes into it, especially when telling the story through the attraction. In terms of you kind of being on the project and you saying it's the first one that you did, how was that for you? Did it feel quite intimidating or happy to
Yes.
take on the challenge?
Yeah, it was certainly intimidating, especially because I'd not really done anything like this before. I'd worked on spreadsheets and stuff previously in kind of previous experience, but this was kind of my first themed entertainment job, project, all of that really, and it was a lot to kind of take on at the time for me, but it was a fun challenge, and obviously I had lots of support from the team, so that made it a lot easier going through it, and I learned so much from a project like that, especially at that point in the project of it being production. That's something I've not done before, and so it was just like, okay, cool. Every day is a new learning. Like, how can we do this better? Like, okay, so this does that, or all of that sort of thing. Yeah, it was a lot to take on, but it was certainly very fulfilling. And I will say, like, when I first saw the walkthrough video that we'd got sent when it was just about to open, I found there was a very moving moment for me. Did shed a tear or two because I was
Oh,
just looking at it and I was like, wow, this is real. This is something that I played a small part in, and it is now out there in the world, and that people are going to visit this, and it's because of the kind of significance, the cultural significance of what the museum is, that it was just that hit even harder because it's like we're here telling the stories of these people and this is a really important story that needs to be told. And I played a small part in that, and just watching the video, it was like, wow, this is
yeah.
real, and this is first project I got to work on that has kind of been built. So yeah, it was a big moment.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because this is a project where we're telling real people's stories, and there'll be people that will visit the attraction and know of people who were in that situation. So it's a different project for us as of recent times, because if we're working with an IP or something that's kind of a created storyline, we can, play with that, and where it's a bit trickier really going with something that's potentially like a very much a real story that has to be an honest account. And like you say, you're kind of impacting people's lives, and it's quite an exciting one really to get started on. Is your first one for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think was your wow moment? What was kind of, obviously you said you shed a tear. What point was that?
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, the when we got the first site photos and videos through, that was the big wow for me of just that was when it really hit me. I will say going to visit it and going to visit with my family as well, that was another really kind of a big moment. And I mean, admittedly, we were all very warm and tired because we just walked the length of the rock through. So it was, it was nice to go stand in the cooler caves. But yeah, no, it was a very important moment for me for kind of just to be able to see the work that I've done and experience that alongside my family. And then obviously, so my dad's really interested in World War II history. He's really kind of loves that kind of portion of history. And so he was really excited to see it. And I remember when I told him that I was working on this project, he was like, okay, cool. So I know when the next family holiday is going to be. It was just like, so he'd been planning that since I told him that I was working on it. And it was just a big moment for kind of me to be able to visit that with them and obviously see it. And yeah, it's obviously really impactful, especially like certain rooms. So the evacuation room, when you walk through there and see all of the photos of the evacuees, and it's very kind of hard to put yourself in the mindset of what they would be experiencing at that period of time and just think about what they had to go through. So yeah, it can be quite hard hitting piece, but it's good. And then obviously it finishes off with the spy stuff, which is cool. So
behind me lies a secret world, once vital to Britain's defence during World War II. Let's explore.
When he plays, he makes the company jump A to the bar. He's a boogie bugle boy of company B. Do 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 da da do da da do do. He blows it A to the bar. He can blow a note, hit the bass and guitar, and without.
Welcome to the Gibraltar World War II Tunnels, a fascinating labyrinth with rich history that played a crucial role in the war. Carved out by hand in the 1940s, these tunnels stretch over 55 kilometers and house 16,000 soldiers with enough food for 16 months. Here you'll find wartime artifacts like vintage maps and communication equipment. It's like stepping back in time.
And that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
Discover the gripping stories on espionage, survival and heroism as you journey through these tunnels, and you learn how they played such a crucial part in the war. Solve the mysteries of the past through interactive exhibitions and reveal the secrets of Gibraltar's military history. Once you've explored the tunnels, don't forget to step out and take in these amazing views. It's the way to connect the past and the present. So whether you're a history lover or just looking for a unique adventure, the Gibraltar World War II Experience is a must visit.
So in terms from an attraction point of view, like the moment, so what was it in the spy area that, you really kind of gravitated towards, or were there any kind of interactives or anything we put in there that you were like, okay, this is really cool, this is different?
yeah.
And you could see other people getting excited with as well. Like you say, you took your family. Was there anything that they kind of thought, oh, this is really cool?
Yep, there were multiple. In fact, it was all of the interactives. So so I was there with my little brother, and I mean he's 18 now, but he's very excitable at times, and seeing him run around and like go and experience all the interactives. For example, one was a spot the difference, to see how good your spy eye is, and see if you could tell the differences really easily. So I remember just kind of sort of standing back and just watching him experience it and kind of see how he interacted with it. And that was really fun to watch because he was just so engaged, kind of like flipping through the books, like looking for the answers and staring at the wall like, where's the differences? And yeah, there was that. And then the other interactives was there was one where we had a button that you'd press and the picture would light up in front of you, and you had to memorize everything you could about that picture as quickly as possible. And then once you memorize that picture, you would then open a file to be asked a question about the picture that you had to recall from your memory. So yeah, again, it was fun seeing them do it and try and work out and see how good of a spy they would have been. And then the final moment in that room is where you spin a big spinning wheel to find out what your spy name was.
Nice.
Yeah, my brother didn't really play it properly. He sort of just went through spinning, looking at all the names till he found one he liked and said, "That's my spy." But yeah, but it's interesting to see actually how different people interact with these interactives.
Yeah.
Some people weren't doing it the way we intended it, but still having the same amount of fun out of
Yeah.
it and still learning stuff, which I think it was the important part of it. But it was cool to see different ways people engage with these interactives, as to whether they went straight to look at the answer and then looked at what the instructions were, or whether they read the instructions first, or whether they would just go around and look at all of the pictures and kind of take in the atmosphere, or whether they would be reading absolutely every piece of information. And my family came on the full spectrum of that. My dad would go and read every single piece of information that was on every wall, and he does that at every museum, whereas my brother was going around looking at the pictures, using the interactives, and just sort of taking in the atmosphere and looking at the tunnels for what they were.
In fact, that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because as part of our process, we look at the play types. So different people play in different ways. And I can't remember exactly, but is there like 8 to 12 play types, I think? And there's various different names for them, and they interact with things in very different ways. So like you say, it must have been really interesting to watch how people did it differently, because we don't all act the same way with everything. So how they kind of took that information in and how they then digested it and kind of acted behind it, that's really interesting.
Yeah, no, and yeah, you say play types, and I think I can picture which play types all of them are. So my brother's definitely like the moving play type of, like, he wants to go run around and look at
Yeah.
everything, and use all the interactives, whereas my dad maybe like a collector and goes like, or the storyteller of like going through reading all of the information and all of the facts. Whereas I think I did the test and I'm a director and I like to organize things.
Explains why you're a producer then. That's kind of what we tend to be, I think. We do like to be in control of situations, don't we?
I think so. Yeah.
Producer team. Yeah, I think that's kind of a common type for probably the majority of us in our team for sure. So moving on from kind of the tunnels, in terms of Katapult, and obviously you've been with us for nearly 2 years now, what do you kind of enjoy most about it? What makes you excited to get to work on a Monday morning?
It is the team, really. I think it's the people at Catapult that really make it. The atmosphere, like being able to come to work and being like, okay, cool, I've got a meeting. It's a 9 a.m. meeting, but I'm like, oh, I get to see all the producers. We get to have our little chat and talk about it. And I'm like, actually, that makes me want to get up for a meeting. So that's the really big one. And like, obviously, like when we go down and get together for the quarterlies and we're all in the office together, that's just such a welcoming environment to be in. Because I remember my first quarterly, I was a bit anxious. I was like, this is my first time meeting everyone, and I'd only really kind of spoken to Catherine or Alex or Victoria at that point in time. And then finally going to meet everyone, it's very, very overwhelming, but very quickly it was like, oh no, this isn't overwhelming. These people are just all really nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's always my number one thing when I tell people, like, Catapult's great because of the people who work there, but also I think we do work on some really cool projects.
We do. It's a lovely
Obviously,
blend, isn't it? Yeah, lots of them we can't talk about, which is a shame. But we have kind of the creative aspect where we work on some really cool stuff, and then we have this really wonderful team where actually going to a quarterly meeting is like a highlight of the month, rather than, I think, that there might be some places where it's like, oh, I've got a meeting, whereas at Catapult it's like, brilliant, we're likely to be doing something creative and fun, and kind of team building that's really great. So yeah, I agree with you on that for sure.
exactly. I was gonna say, like, in the same way you said that, of like, we get to be creative, like, I think everyone on the team gets the opportunity to be creative as well at Catapult. It's not like, oh, we're producers, okay, therefore we aren't creative. We just sort of look and get on, do the budget and do the schedule. But no, like, everyone gets to have a voice and gets to be creative and gets to have their input. and everyone's listened to. And I think that's another really important thing that I think makes Catapult great.
Yeah, for sure. We're not just spreadsheet people on the producer team. We like the creative thinking side of it as well. I know I'm exactly the same for that. In terms of your kind of role in the industry, because you've kind of not just come into Catapult, you've come into the themed entertainment industry and really took hold of it and kind of took all those opportunities. So you recently did a roundtable with the TEA on imposter syndrome and social anxiety. Could you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
Yes. Ironically, I had a lot of imposter syndrome to do that round table, because I'd seen something on LinkedIn and I was like, oh, imposter syndrome, that'd be a really good one. I would like to go and listen to a talk about people doing imposter syndrome. So I emailed Bjorn, the organizer, and said, hey, this would be a really good topic. I'd love to hear about it. The next email I get back is saying, okay, you're on the panel. And I'm like, that wasn't what I was going for, but sure thing. But yeah, like I said, lots of imposter syndrome for going on to that panel. But I think it's always good to talk about these things, because I think imposter syndrome is something that a lot of people experience, if not everyone, at some point in their life or career. Of you feel like everyone else around you belongs, but maybe you don't. Obviously, with this being my first themed entertainment job, I kind of get that a lot. And going to networking events of like, there's all these people who know each other, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe I'm not them yet. But actually just talking about this sort of thing with people and opening up, really just, you find out that no, everyone's sort of in that same position. We all don't really know what we're doing. We're just walking around and pretending. Like, by opening up, you discover you can make connections a lot easier of saying like, oh yeah, okay, we feel the same. That's a common ground. And sometimes it just allows that conversation to flow more freely. And I think a lot of people are very willing to help and to support that. So doing that roundtable was really good, because yeah, not only that was I able to talk about it and talking about my experiences, but I was also able to listen to other people's experiences who were on the panel. So Matt Barton was explaining how, which I really related to, that he needs like a role to feel like he's at a networking event or something, to feel like he's comfortable. So like, that's why he joined the TEA, to get himself into a role, so that when he's in a networking event, he can be like, oh yeah, I'm here to represent TEA, and therefore he doesn't feel as awkward about the situation. And I really relate to that, actually, of like, oh, when I have something to do, I feel a lot safer and a lot like more comfortable. And so yeah, no, I think it was a really good event. And it was good as well for the other attendees to see, and for them all to chime in with their experiences, and just to basically say that actually, yeah, we're all feeling the same at times. So yeah.
I think that's definitely true. I think people perhaps don't always talk about it, but it's definitely a thing, and it's definitely kind of something that kind of comes in and out at different points depending on what you're doing. Especially from the point of view working at Catapult, obviously we do such varied projects that some people have absolute knowledge and expertise on one thing, whereas someone else might have it on another thing. And I think what we do well at Catapult is we balance each other out, and we're not afraid to ask for help or ask for support on things, or different people are put on different projects based on their passion points or what they kind of know the most about. So we've got some real theme park kind of enthusiasts on this team, and we also have some real heritage and kind of nature enthusiasts. So it's a really nice balance that we kind of look across and pick the right people for the job. But yeah, I think everybody definitely gets a feeling of imposter syndrome sometimes. I know I'm definitely guilty of it, so I'm right there with you. I can completely hear you. Another thing you're doing, you've recently joined the TA Next Gen Committee. What does that mean? What is it?
Yeah, so I've been doing it for nearly a year now on that. So it sort of came about that I was helping Dawn on the marketing and comms committee, and then from there, the Next Gen committee needed someone to basically make their graphics for a game night. So they were like, George, can you do that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So that was kind of how it started. But then since then, I've kind of grown into helping a bit more. So TEA Next Gen, we have a online Discord server where it came out of the fact that a lot of people in the Europe and Middle East region of TEA, they can't travel very easily to get to some events. And a lot of times the events are hosted either in London or Paris or Amsterdam or Barcelona and stuff like that. And there's people who really can't get to those places very easy. So the Discord came out of the fact that it was a place where Next Gens could connect with each other without needing to spend the money to travel, to book hotels, get flights or anything like that. And it started off quiet, and it was just like, this is a couple of game nights. And it came out of COVID, obviously, with everything moving online.
Mm-hmm.
So that was where it was sort of born. And then since then, myself and a few others, we've been trying to grow what the Discord could be and start hosting more educational events and workshops, and open forum Q&A sessions, and then sharing weekly resources and having weekly debate topics. So we're trying to kind of build it as like this community hub for any next gens, and yeah, it's very exciting what we've got planned for the next year or so on there. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that, and I mean, because of it, I've made so many more new friends, which is
Yeah.
great. It's sort of similar position of entering the industry or on their first job in the industry or transitioning from a different industry, of just trying to find their foot in the door and make connections, meet new people, so that when they do go to a networking event, it's not just going to be a load of faces that they don't know, that hopefully there'll be at least one person there that they recognize.
And that's wonderful. I mean, it kind of links to your last point about the roundtable. You've kind of removed, hopefully, some of that imposter syndrome and social anxiety out of the equation, so that when people do go to these events, they do feel a bit more kind of, I know what I'm doing, I know who's here, you know, you can feel a little bit less potentially overwhelmed by these things. Because like you say, they're very busy, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of people. So it's nice to know there's a bit of a safety net of people that you might know. So yeah, that's really exciting. You're busy, aren't you, George? You've got a
Yeah,
lot going on.
yeah, just about.
Yeah. Okay, final question. So obviously you're at Katapult now. What was your journey to getting to this point? Because obviously a lot of people might look at our jobs and go, wow, you've got a really cool job. How did you get there? That's kind of the question here. Like, how did you get to the point of coming to Katapult and being in the themed entertainment industry?
Yeah, it's quite a long story, but I'll give you the abridged
Give us the
version.
synopsis.
So yeah, I came from a theatre background. I studied stage management at university down in Birmingham. I always knew when I applied to that course that I wanted to get into themed entertainment, and the reason I picked that course was there was a single module in the second year that was designed for themed entertainment, where we had to design a fictional shop for Alton Towers, and that was the main reason I picked that course. I learned lots of other stuff out of that course as well, and so there was a lot going on, but yeah. So from stage management, it was like, actually, there's a lot of crossover in terms of the management side of things. I find a lot of the like production assistant stuff that I do day to day actually is all stuff I learned from stage management, like how to take good notes, how to keep on track on top of like a spreadsheet, all of that sort of stuff. It was stuff I was able to pick up, and then communication and working within a team and understanding the different departments and their requirements and all of that. But for my final year, there was a requirement where I needed to do some work experience, and I knew I was like, I really want to do it at a themed entertainment company. And luckily for me, IAPA was in London that year.
Yeah.
And I just happened to come across it on like an Instagram advert, and it was like IAPA in London. And at this point, I didn't really know what IAPA was, but I was like, okay, you know what? Sure, I will take an afternoon, go down to London. I think I spoke to a couple of companies, and in fact, Katapult was one of them. And I spoke to Martin, and we had a really good conversation next to the bus. But from there, I reached out to companies afterwards, and I got a really wonderful response from Catherine. And she was like, well, we don't really offer internships or anything like that, but I'd be happy to have a call with you. And so we scheduled a call. And then, yeah, so then I was able to get that internship out of that call, because although, yeah, it just worked out. And then from that internship, I was like, okay, this is my time to learn as much as I can. So in that 4 weeks, and then I spoke to Alex, who pushed me towards the Immersive Design Academy, formerly Next Gen Showcase, where I then took part in that program after I'd finished my internship here, and that taught me the rest of the stuff that I needed to know. And then, fortunately, Katapult needed a production assistant. Yeah, I gave them a call, or Catherine gave me a call, and yeah, it worked out. So
It did.
very lucky, but there's a lot about timing. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was my story.
But also, you clearly put a lot of work in to find the route and find, you know, where your passion was and where you wanted to be. And here we are nearly 2 years later. So something's going right, isn't it? Brilliant. Well, thank you, George. Thank you for chatting with me.
Thank you.
Great to learn more about the tunnels and about you as well, and find out, a bit more about kind of what you do and where you've come from. So that's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.